Hello, my name is Zarina Tompkins. It's my great privilege to do this Elsevier webinar. What I will tell you today is only one way of doing things, and that I'm consciously aware that there's many ways to do things. So to get us started, I thought I would actually give you a bit of background about the subject that I teach and what it actually means within the context of the course that I do. So the anatomy and physiology subject that I teach is basically delivered in 5 weeks time. It's done in a very rapid, intense sequence. And so basically students in that time cover all the body systems and also, have the opportunity to start off from the cell all the way to the complex integration. Now, what's interesting about the cohort of my students is that 40 to 45% of them have no science background whatsoever, so they may actually be starting with no knowledge of cell biology and certainly no knowledge of thinking about what they need to do to apply the anatomy and physiology to a person-centered way. And so one interesting thing for me as well is that the program in which I teach has to teach what's called an AQF level 9 level, which is a master's entry program. And that means that students, according to the Bloom's taxonomy, actually need to be at this upper end here, where they need to show that they are creating and evaluating information and that they're making judgments using the information that we provide them in the anatomy and physiology. So as you can see, the challenge for this particular subject is great. So you really have to bring students that are sort of sitting at this lower end with no knowledge of science all the way up to the end here, but at the same time not lose the students who come into the classroom with anatomy and physiology background, because they themselves have a very good understanding of what is the theory in this subject. So how do I do this? This is basically the pedagogical approach that I take. It is in 5 stages. Many of these will be familiar to you because they are very much similar to the flipped classroom model, which means that, there will be some stage that occurs outside of the classroom, some will be in the classroom, and then there will be a follow-up. Hopefully, where the transition really should be occurring is that where it starts off very heavily on the mentor side in terms of content transfer, it actually over time becomes less sort of driven by the mentor and more driven by the learner. So you want them to take over in terms of where their education and learning is actually going. So one of the issues that we encountered when we had this particular model is that we didn't have enough supporting resources in order to do this. And certainly when I mentioned this to Elsevier, they said, well, why don't you make up your own? And I said, oh, well, why not? And so I decided that, I would like to have a simplified anatomy and physiology textbook, but that actually had more sort of real case studies in there that really didn't go into diseases. I really wanted to look at the homeostatic mechanisms and something that people could relate to their daily lives. And so we created this book. And I have to say that, none of it would be possible without my amazing contributors. And they are all people from different professions. We've got physiotherapists, we've got audiology and speech pathology on our team, we've got medical doctors, of course, nurses. Nothing happens without nurses, as you know. And so together we were able to form this resource that we tried to make it as interdisciplinary as we possibly could. And to make it work for the students, we actually did bring in students on board as well. And so that enabled us to actually get more perspective and refine a little bit more where we were going. Ideally, if you're thinking about a flipped classroom model, or if you're thinking about a similar approach to what I've just described here that we've developed over time, then this book can certainly support some of that all the way. And so, how you would use it would be up to you. But one thing that we do find, though, is that no matter how much you do, you are always missing clinical case studies. And so we are sort of hoping to come up with a few more of those, again, very much within that confinement of homeostasis, normal and abnormal. Where I would like to go with this, I would love to be able to bring clinic into my anatomy and physiology class and to actually, bring lived experiences, and that actually students really get an opportunity to see what does it mean for a person when a particular body part is not working very well, or that it's actually and helping students visualize what is it that I'm really talking about. And so I hope that by having this student-led nursing ground rounds, that I will be able to actually, empower students more, and therefore build further that curiosity, that engagement into where they're going and what they're doing with anatomy and physiology, and also to then always have them reflect on what is it that they did with the patient on that day, so that anatomy and physiology knowledge can grow well after they left my classroom.